You endorsed Jim Jordan, so I'm assuming you voted for Jim Jordan today. If the vote for Speaker were today, would you vote for Steve Scalise?
I would not. I plan on voting for Jim Jordan on the floor. I've been very vocal about this over the last couple of days. I personally cannot, in good conscience, vote for someone who attended a white supremacist conference and compared himself to David Duke. I would be doing an enormous disservice to the voters that I represent in South Carolina if I were to do that.
As expected, the fallout and attempted reunification of the Republican members of the House has become a bitter fight that's deliciously spilling out in front of cameras. And suddenly, Republicans are concerned about members of their party being affiliated with white supremacists, a party that's led by a guy that just said this about migrants.
Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from, and we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists. Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country.
Everyone knows that Republicans only call out the party's obvious racism when other things bother them that they don't really want to talk about. But as they stab each other in the chest, there are more Jim Jordan supporters than Nancy Mace, and their reason for opposing Scalise, it just varies.
I'm not supporting Steve Scalise. I'll be voting for Jim Jordan.
And why is that?
Well, Jim Jordan presented a strong plan for us, a detailed plan on how to move forward. We didn't hear that plan from Steve Scalise. It was more vague answers. But there's another situation that's very personal to me. You know, I lost my father in 2021 to cancer, and unfortunately, Steve is going through a cancer battle of his own. And, you know, I like Steve Scalise a lot, and I like him so much. I would like to see him put his full efforts into defeating that.
Steve must be wondering, what the hell did I do? They're suddenly calling out our luncheons with Nazis, claiming that my cancer treatments are too big for me to handle being Speaker of the House. Maybe if I go on Fox News, Maria Bartiromo will let me promote myself freely.
We're going to get back to that day one as well when I'm elected Speaker.
Well, I understand, but the truth is with all due respect, Congressman, you're not answering any questions. Do you endorse sending money to Israel in an emergency package? Do you endorse sending the $24 billion that President Biden is asking to Ukraine? Are you going to manage these bills in a lower number?
As you asked me, I just told you, I spoke with Ambassador Dermer yesterday about very specific things that Israel needs. Some, by the way, are in the what's called the SFOPS bill, State Foreign Ops bill, that we just passed out of the House, the Defense Appropriations bill that we just passed out of the House. That's real money in pieces of legislation we passed out of the House, ready to go. If you want to get into details, I'll get into details with you. But Congress can't do any of that while we're not functioning without a speaker. We need to get a speaker.
Nope, that ain't work either. They've apparently run out of softballs to toss at Scalise over Fox News, so he's running out of outlets to help him shape the narrative in his favor. His hardest sell might be in convincing the Gates 8 to support him. The same faction of Republicans that kicked McCarthy out are perfectly aligned with anointing Jim Jordan next Speaker, most likely because of the guy that lost the last election but is still exercising his authority over the party.
Donald Trump is inserting himself into the mad scramble to find the next Speaker of the House. The de facto head of the GOP endorsing longtime ally Jim Jordan overnight, calling him a, quote, great choice. This, as multiple sources confirm, Trump is considering a visit to the Capitol next week, right as jockeying and votes for Speaker are expected to reach a crescendo.
So, while the House is in disarray and nothing's getting done, power-hungry candidates pull some of the dirtiest moves behind the scenes and not necessarily for their own glory. Because now that Donald Trump has put his name behind Jim Jordan, the MAGA wing sadly has one simple job: make sure Donald Trump isn't embarrassed by his endorsements again. Especially now that Steve Scalise has been nominated by most Republicans to be the next speaker, and they're going to have that full vote next.
Donald Trump, he backed Jordan.
Bit of an embarrassing moment for him, isn't it?
It didn't work out.
Kevin was very much in the forefront of trying to help Jordan. So it's got to be a big loss to him as well as to Trump. Trump endorsed Jordan, more than maybe about a week ago. So a big loss for Trump here as well. Trump doesn't usually do this unless he thinks he's going to win. So it's a big loss for him for sure.